Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I have the juiciest interview with Holly and Bridget from Girls Next Door with everything that's happened since, all the inside scoop. You're going to die. It gets real. Before we get to that, I just want to cover a follow-up on the whole Alabama, known as Bama Rush, sorority rush, out of Alabama. They had bid day, so either the girls were cheering and were happy, or they're crying, or they're transferring schools, or they got their second choice. It's done. It happened Sunday. What broke on Friday is that my Annie, who was a sorority girl, she was a Kappa Kappa Gamma at the University of Mississippi, texted me with some real juicy scoop. And I go, get on it. I'm going to explain the story as best I can. Okay, you tell me how I do, Annie. So there was a suspicion that microphones were being sent in to record conversations for HBO Max from Vice Studios that was supposedly doing something with HBO Max. Now, when I first heard this, I was like, okay, wait a minute. That means that they had to find girls that were already enrolled in Alabama who'd be willing to put on a mic and go through Rush and send that recordings to Vice Studios so they could either make a documentary, make a scripted show. I'm thinking, was it a mic? Could it have been like a little body cam cop, like what a cop would have? I don't know. And I thought that was a little hard to do because I'm like, you would have to find someone that was willing to do this and possibly jeopardize their own chance of being in a sorority. And I think if someone was a cute type of sorority type girl, and she's going to a place like Alabama, which is a big sorority fraternity place, most likely she would want to rush. But they believe that this was happening, and that this one girl, I saw her TikTok, she said she got kicked out because she took a hair tie and put it around her shirt, and they had heard this rumor, the girls at Alabama, and they're like, oh my God, you're a mole. You're like a cop that's like, are you mic'd like the mafia? Get the fuck out. Like, what happened? And they kick her out, and she got dropped from Sorority Rush on suspicion that she might have been, a little worker for HBO Max. Now, this one girl said, her name's Emily Limbaugh, and she's 23. She graduated from the University of Alabama in August. She was an Alpha Phi there, and she said she was contacted via Instagram DM by a woman who identified herself as a producer from Vice Studios working on a documentary for HBO Max, and she thought it was super sketchy that the direct message came from an unverified account with no profile pic, and the account seems to have been deactivated. Now, the PNMs, what does PNM stand for? Oh, potential new member. We never called them that. Really? I think we just called them like Rushies or whatever. They were told not to post Rush TikToks, and also, a little too late for that, also not to talk to reporters if they came to the school, or else they'd be dropped from recruitment. Now, what I thought was juicy on Friday is that Annie told me that at University of Mississippi, she heard through the grapevine that the sorority girls there that were doing Rush, maybe they were a little bit behind Bama.
We don't do it until next week.
Okay, so they're starting next week, and this is their work week. I mean, they get all their stuff together to give the greatest show and get the best girls. And they heard about this, and they were having people come in and teach them how to spot a girl who might have a mic or be mic'd. So here's what I'm thinking. Whether this is true or not, I think it's a juicy story to make a whole nother scripted movie about someone wanting to do a documentary about sorority rush. Maybe the girl's like a little genius and her mom's in entertainment, and the two of them are like, you know what? We're going to make it in Hollywood. You're going to go and act like you're going to get into Alabama. You're going to act like you're into this, and you're going to do a whole year as a mole, and you're going to be collecting stories, and you're going to be doing secret recordings and writing in your notes section and recording people and all this stuff. And then, like, at the end, the girls, she really ends up loving the girls. She was out there going to come and be like, these girls are awful people. This is a, an old-fashioned awful people place for pretty people who are mean. And then in the end, she realizes they're all really lovely and they all really care about each other. And then she's like, I don't know what to do. Hollywood's calling, and my mom, and we're about to like sell this big thing to Netflix, and I'm going to be like the next little girl version of Steven Spielberg, or I found a boy I like and a sisterhood I love. There you go. There you go. You'll be watching it while getting your hair dried out at the dry bar in about 6 years from now. Very juicy. Okay, you guys, I hope you have gone to heathermcdonald.net. I hope you have gotten your tickets to my live Juicy Scoop shows. They are selling really fast. I'm in a ton of cities. Anyway, it's all right there. And you want to go there because those are the direct links. They'll get you the best possible tickets for the best price. That's where you want to go, heathermcdonald.net. And now for my juicy interview. Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I'm very excited. I have lots of questions for my two fabulous guests. It's Holly and Bridget, known best from The Girls Next Door. Now you guys are back because I'm very excited about your new show. Of how you're going to watch back the episodes together and let us know what's real, what's not, what was happening in your brain, what was being portrayed. Very excited. Welcome to Juicy Scoop.
Thanks. You. Yeah, we have a new podcast. It's called Girls Next Level, and we will be going back and watching all the episodes and letting everybody know what was real and what was fake and all the drama behind the scenes and everything. So there's a lot to get into.
So, I mean, I've had you on the show before, and I've never met you, Bridget. I watched the show in the heyday of E!
Yeah.
And, being on Chelsea Lately, we would like follow it and discuss it a lot. And I actually remember the first time I was even introduced to you. I was listening to a regular radio show. I was driving around at night. I don't know what the show was, but they're like, and we're talking to Holly, who's Hef's girlfriend. And this was before the show.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, and the way you like told the story of like, oh, I was just at the pool one day or something, and he started to talk to, like, what is the story? How did you meet Hef?
Well, I had been invited to the parties at the mansion. I was doing a Hawaiian Tropics thing, and like Hef's doctor went there, and he wanted to invite all the girls from the contest to the mansion, like put them on the list for the party. And I was so excited because back then those parties were like the hottest ticket in town, and not just anybody could get in. So I was super excited, and from there I got
in.
I know, but you're cool.
I would go to the party, but it was a fun.
Yeah.
Cool thing to do. And it was like Hollywood elite, and it was gorgeous, and I never saw anything creepy when I was there at those parties. And that was end of 90s. So I don't know.
Early 2000s.
Or I just was too focused on the free lamb chops. I don't know. So
And
you're at the mansion as a hot tropic girl.
Yeah, or just like a random girl.
Just a
random girl who got invited.
Just a pretty girl.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And from there, I got put on the list to go to the pool parties they would have every Sunday. And that was like a smaller, more intimate group. And I would go to those every Sunday and like make friends there. And everybody just seemed so nice, all of his friends. And after a while, that kind of started to feel like a community I was a part of a little bit. And then I got into a place in my life where I had nowhere to live. Like just all this crazy stuff had happened in my life. And I was like, you know what? He has a spot open as one of his girlfriends. So maybe I should move in here. Like it sounds crazy, but it didn't feel like that much of a stretch at the time for me.
And at that time when you said he has a spot open, had you guys already been intimate at least once?
No, what had happened is I'd been invited to go out with them a few times. So I always kind of thought in the back of my head, like, oh, maybe if I wanted to be a girlfriend, maybe it could be an option. But it wasn't really anything I thought I would do or ever have the balls to do if I wasn't kind of like desperate for a place to live. So I approached him and I was like, oh, I'd love to go out with you guys maybe this week or something. And he was like, okay, well, I'll have my secretary call you. And it just happened from there.
Okay, so then, we kind of know from the show and stuff that you got to bone him.
Yeah.
Right? You got to bone him with the other girls. And once that happened, then were you just like, well, I guess I'll make the best of this? And then
absolutely.
Yeah. Once you've gone that far, it's like, I'm going to stick around for this. Like I compromised that,
And now, how did you meet him? And like, where did the years collide where you guys met before the show started?
Well, you moved in and started coming out with Hef maybe like 9 months after I moved in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was pretty close.
And what was your story? Were you like just a cute girl at the parties, or what happened?
I had met him way before. I had tested for a playmate. They brought me out to the mansion and did like the full test and everything. So I'd spent like 3 days there, and I met him. And then I didn't get it. I didn't find out for a year and a half that I didn't get it, and I never went back to the mansion in that time because I didn't know I could.
And were you living in LA that time?
No, I was living in Northern California.
Okay.
Desperately wanting to be in LA and wishing I could go to the parties and like be a part of all of that kind of thing. And then one day somebody told me, oh, you know, if you tested before, you could go to the parties. And I was like, wait, what? So
Like I missed out a year and a half of my life.
I did. And some of the best years of Playboy parties, too, because I tested at the end of 98. So, like, 99 and 2000, like, those are the parties I was missing.
You missed me.
The prime time.
Because then people know the story, but I got married and I got invited to the New Year's Eve party, which was 2000. And it was, you had the 7 girlfriends. And so I called to RSVP, and normally I'd bring a girlfriend that then I'd have to send in her photo or whatever. But if I had a girlfriend that was already approved, then she could come with me every time. And I was like, well, now I'd like to I have a different guest this time. It's my husband, but he's really cool and fun. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, this is a singles party. And just hung up on me. And I was never invited again.
Oh, my God.
And I was like so bummed because honestly, my husband's the most non-jealous person in the world.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would have spent New Year's Eve without him, but like I could have gone to the one in April or Halloween or whatever. He wouldn't have cared with the girlfriend. But because I was in the business and it was like, whatever, get some. So anyway, continue. So you missed me at the parties. And so you start coming down.
Yeah, I start coming out. The first party I get invited to is Midsummers of 2000. Which was incredible and amazing. And then I just really had the bug, like I really want to be here. I really want to be doing this. I finally just like took my savings and moved to LA and was able through, you know, the contacts to just be able to come to Fun in the Sun and buffet dinner and movie. And Hef called one time in March and asked me if I wanted to go out with him and the girls. And I was like, oh no, I've heard like stories about what goes on. And no, I'm not. I just really want to be.
You said no?
Yeah. I just really want to be a playmate. That's why I'm here, like doing stuff for the entertainment industry. I had a broadcast journalism, communications degree. So I was auditioning for things and I wanted to be a playmate, but being a girlfriend or going out, like, no, that's not what I had in mind here. And he was very gracious and nice about it, and everything was fine. Then a couple months later, I was like, you know what? Like nothing had moved in my life really. And I thought, what do I have to lose? Like this, I could be missing out on some really cool opportunities. I was watching other girls kind of come and go and all the fun they were having going out. And I thought, why am I like not letting myself do this?
So when you're thinking that, you're like, all right, I'm just going to have to hop on and count to 11 and let this be over? Or like, I mean, I don't know. Like
I don't know if it was that long.
Like,
when I finally go out,
just gear yourself and be like, all right, I am going to do this thing, which is not something I'm super excited to be, but like, who really care? Like, how do you justify it in your mind of like, you've been a pretty girl that's probably always had someone age appropriate boyfriends, and now you're going to go and be with this really older guy. You're going to share him with people, but like, thank God you're sharing them with people. Like, I'm almost thinking, like, where did you justify it?
I sort of had that in mind. But I was also thinking that I could get out of this for a little while. Like, the first night I was like, I'm not ready yet. So I'm just going to, like, kind of check it out and see what's going on. But I'm not going to do anything I don't want to do.
That's what I thought, too. I never thought I would necessarily have to go the first night or be the first one the first night. Like,
yeah. And it's not like I never would have done it with him, but I wasn't ready at that moment. Mm-hmm. But there's other girls that put pressure on you. Like, she straight up told me, you'll never be invited back if you don't do this tonight. So then it's like you've put in all this time and all this effort and you've had such a great night. Like, it's really fun going out with Hef and stuff. And you think, wait, do I want this all to end like right now? Plus you've been drinking, plus you're tired, and
you're wasted. That's step one.
Everybody else is doing it, so
and
you
kind of
just
go. Drinking, or are you partaking in some other stuff too?
I was just drinking, but I drank a lot. I was just so nervous that first night that I was just downing them all night.
Yeah. What was your drink of choice?
Well, this was 2001, so it was vodka cranberry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Still a great drink.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Full of hidden sugar. Yeah. So I wouldn't drink it now.
True.
But
yeah. You just do the splash now. Splash of cranberry, vodka soda.
Vodka water.
Vodka club soda, or whatever, Perrier. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, just alcohol as well. I was offered the Quaalude, but I was like, no, I don't even know Like I'd never
And
done anything
Quaaludes
like
were
that.
like not around. Like Quaaludes were, to me, I heard about Quaaludes like in the 80s and like 70s. And
You
then
hear about
like
in past tense. Yeah.
yeah, like it wasn't like none of our friends were doing it or, like, so I was like, that must have been kind of weird.
It was definitely weird. Like, I knew what it was, but I have to imagine a lot of girls my age back then probably didn't know what it was. Like,
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street wasn't even out then. We didn't even have, like, that cultural touchstone
Right.
to know, like, what a Quaalude does or anything.
Yeah.
I had no idea what it was, but I just was like, I've never done anything like that. So I was like, no, I just drank and I smoked a little bit of pot in my past. That's the extent of what I had done. So
Yeah.
I wasn't interested in doing that. But I got in trouble from the other girls for declining it.
You mean they were just pissed?
Yeah, they were like, don't decline it or he'll quit giving it to us.
Oh,
So-
don't decline the Quaalude. I thought you
Yeah.
meant the dick. Okay.
No.
Okay. And I was like, are you sure?
Everybody would have been excited about that. Yeah. No, the Quaalude. And so in the future, like I would accept it and just throw it in my purse.
And do you think the girls wanted it just because, again, it just made the whole process just less memorable?
That's what I'm wondering. Either they wanted it to take it or maybe they were, like, hoarding it and selling it. I have no idea.
I have
like,
no
why
idea
they kept
either.
wanting to get the Quaaludes, but apparently it was a
Interesting.
thing. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You know what? And at some point, the Quaaludes just stopped. And I don't even know when that was or why that was or anything.
I feel like it was around like 2003, 2004. I feel like it's because we didn't have a girl in the group who was like a recruiter anymore. So just like
A recruiter
girls-
that would get new girls to come
Yes.
in.
yeah, like a Ghislaine Maxwell type
And you feel like the
person.
recruiting and getting the new people, again, was like taking the heat off of you to sexually satisfy him.
Yeah, and she has more value in the group because he knows she recruits
bringing in
girls.
girls.
So
And when someone recruits somebody, like, how do you sell me on it? Like let's say I'm the cute girl at the party and F's like, she's attractive. And he says it to the recruiter. How does the recruiter, like, then come to me, like, and we just, like, role play, like, to get me to be, like, feel me out to see if I'm interested and if I'd be, like, a good, cool person to hang? Like, what do you say to me?
I mean, she was a really fun person with like a fun personality. So she could easily just go up to anybody and be like, oh, hey, want a drink? Want to hang out? Blah, blah, blah. And then it just escalates from there after somebody's been drinking.
When you offer somebody to come behind the velvet ropes and drink for free with your bottles, unlimited bottle service and dancing with
Oh, at a
Hef
club,
and-
you mean?
Yeah, at a club or at a party.
Okay, or at a Playboy party.
Yeah,
Okay.
like it's really it's exciting and it's fun and you're behind the velvet ropes and everybody's looking in and you're like one of those people that are there, like VIP and stuff. So I feel like it would be a pretty easy sell.
Yeah,
And do you
for
want to
sure.
come back to the Playboy
Yeah.
Mansion with us? Like,
I also think when you're not used to getting attention like that at a nightclub where people are like, oh my God, it's Hef and the girlfriends. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's like makes the night 10 times more fun than if you were just with your other pretty girlfriends going out to a nightclub.
Yeah,
you
we
know,
talk
because it's
about
like
it.
you're a star, and you get that celebrity and everyone's so much nicer to you. And,
Oh, yeah.
People want to see you and like, yeah. I don't
Nobody
think
checks your ID when you walk in.
yeah, we
Yeah.
talk about this on the podcast too. Like
Yeah.
the seas just part when you walk into the club and everybody's in awe.
Right.
That here comes Hef and this gaggle of girlfriends, like all walking single file to this roped off area. Sorry.
Yeah.
This roped off area with like 5-6 security people standing at all around it and
So you go out that night, you go, I guess I have to take my turn.
yeah.
And then once it's over, I mean, I'm just,
Well, I didn't say, oh, I guess I have to take my turn. I was still just gonna watch.
okay.
And then she was like, "Aren't you gonna?" That same girl was like, "Aren't you gonna go?" It's like you need to go. And I was like, "I would rather not." And she was like, "Well, then probably won't be invited back." So then I was like, "Okay." And I'd seen what everybody else was doing, so I knew that this was like a 10-second thing.
Okay.
I mean, definitely no more than a minute.
Oh, okay.
Would you say?
I mean, my memory is cloudy. I've kind of blocked it. But yeah, I would say you're
It's
right.
short.
Right.
Everybody's very encouraging.
It's truly teamwork.
It is. It actually is.
Yeah.
Everyone is very encouraging.
Everyone's just like, we all have to do this together. So, yeah. And is it like, I don't want to be the first, I don't want to be the last? Is number 3 the best? Like, is it, if everyone's doing it, is there a time that you'd rather do it or not?
I don't think so. I think
Oh,
everybody
for me,
was
there
just-
was.
Oh, I think
was your-
I felt like everybody's just trying to get it done as quickly as possible, like the whole process.
Well, once after that first night, like when I tried not to do it, after that I wanted to be first because
Okay.
there was no way I wanted going after other people.
Right, because that was the other thing is they said it was no condoms, so you all could possibly have spread something unintentionally.
You were hoping everyone's in the same situation,
Yeah,
and
and
there is
taking
a
care of
doctor
themselves.
on
Yeah.
staff, and you're hoping everybody is being checked out and everybody's being, I say this in quotes, monogamous to that relationship, you know,
Right.
but you don't know.
Right.
And if there's new girls coming up, which there often were, like I just wanted to be first and be done, and that I felt like that was the cleanest way
Yeah.
to be in and out of it.
So then how long were you guys both living in the house together and being part of one, like how many girls were there when this opportunity came up to like, hey, we've been approached to possibly do a reality show, and how did that all come about? How did they sell it to you? What was you?
It wasn't like that at all.
Okay.
Well, we both lived there for about 7 years total.
Okay.
And there was a constant turnover of the other women. And Bridget and I had lived there for about 3 years, I think, before Hef kicked everybody else out and Kendra moved in. And then it became just 3 of us rather than 7, which was a big relief because there was a lot less drama.
And did you always get to have your own bedroom?
No, I had to share with Hef, and I had zero privacy ever. I asked him if I could have another room down the hall, and he always said no. But there were constantly like secretaries walking in and out of his room all day.
And when
like,
did you get chosen to be the girl that lives in the room? And at that time, you were like, I guess, into it as
Yeah.
far as being like the number one girl. Like, how did that come about?
I moved into his room about 6 months after I moved in, but we started talking about it almost immediately after I moved in, because I moved in and I was kind of the one girl who liked to stay at home and liked to go to the buffet dinners and liked to watch the old movies and stuff. And everybody else who had been there did
Casablanca.
not
Yeah.
want to be the main girlfriend, because
Right.
they know like you have to share a room, you're under the microscope, like you just can't kind of go off and do your own thing as much. So everybody was like, oh, I think you're going to be Hef's new girlfriend. And I had never thought that would be me, because I was the youngest in the group. And from what I had seen before, I kind of always assumed the main girlfriend had to be the oldest for whatever reason, just because she had been before. But I
And
was
where did that
flattered
girl
by
go?
it.
Like, where did that, once she left and then you were being chosen to take her place, like, how much time was in between, and how did that girl feel, and why did she choose to leave at that time?
Well, I think the reason she wanted to be there at all was because she wanted a centerfold in the magazine. So when her
okay.
centerfold came out, she left. So,
Oh,
I don't think she cared. Like, she
got
wanted
her
somebody to take her
centerfold
place. Yeah.
as like, and she wanted that centerfold because at that time it was such great publicity, and it was such a great launching pad for acting roles, being that Pam Anderson and you guys were after Jenny McCarthy,
Yeah.
and so like,
Yeah, we kind of grew up with that. So we
Yeah.
thought being a playmate, you could be like the next Pamela Anderson or Anna Nicole
Yeah.
Smith or
or
somebody.
like an E! News reporter or whatever. Yeah, I got it. Okay, so that girl gets her centerfold. It's over. She's like, see ya.
Yeah, she bails. So
Okay.
she was happy somebody else was moving in. Like
Right.
there wasn't any like
She
resistance.
she passed the baton.
Yeah, so to
Totally.
speak.
So then when that happened, you get in the groove, and from what, like, tell me, like, then did you kind of just convince yourself that this was like a normal thing and that it was okay, or like when did you only recently realize like how fucked up it was?
Well, I mean, I always knew, obviously, that the situation was so far from normal, but I think that was part of why I was able to make excuses for, like, his bad behavior in the relationship and how he treated me, because I was already had the mindset, like, well, this isn't going to be ordinary, and this is kind of like a different, special situation. But I would say I realized how messed up everything was right when I decided to leave, which was like 7 years later. It's just because I kind of always blamed all the problems on the other girls, like, oh, there's so much drama because we're all not getting along, but Hef's the good guy, poor Hef. That was kind of always my mindset the whole time. But when Bridget and Kendra left and it was just going to be me and him, he just started lashing out at me so much and became really verbally abusive. And I just realized, like, the girls were not the problem. I mean, some of them were the problem. Some of them weren't so nice. But they weren't the problem the whole time. He was the problem. So then I left and I tried to, like, file the experience away and just only think about the positive things for a couple years. But after a while, I would just look back on it, like anytime I needed to go, like, look at an old picture for reference or something, and I would just see the fakest smile on my face and just realized like how miserable I was the whole time. And I knew I was miserable when I was there. It's just that I always blamed it on the other girls. Like we used to go out to lunch, so nobody would like eavesdrop on us in the house.
Just the two of you?
Yeah, we would go to lunch and just talk about like, oh my God, this is so miserable. This is so rough. When are
While
things
you're
gonna get
filming
better?
and stuff?
Well, even before we were filming,
okay.
there was
But
so much
you'd
drama.
always been friendly.
Yeah,
you were always
for sure.
good.
We were always close.
Oh, okay.
But I always thought, if the other girls left, things would be great. That was kind of where my mindset was.
Right.
Until like the last minute, and then I decided to leave.
You know what's interesting about it all, which I'm sure you guys reflect, is like, when you watch documentaries on cults and polygamy and polygamous cults and how you just,
keep rationalizing.
Yeah, and you just kind of think it like that. Or even if you're in like a work situation where there's like a boss that kind of sets the tone so that the minions or whatever actually start infighting, where they go to lunch and they start talking about everybody but the boss who's actually creating this environment.
No, it's purposeful because he never wanted all of us to get together and be like, you know what, we don't feel like going out tonight. We just want to stay in. Like he wouldn't want that. He wanted us competing against each other. So we had to like go along with what he wanted because everybody was trying to one up everybody else.
Right. Okay, so now let's get to the place. So you guys are friendly. You're all living there with other people. You go out one night a week or 2 nights a week? How often are you like at a nightclub with a PR situation?
I'd say 2 nights a week. Did it kind of calm? No, it didn't. We didn't stop going out till after the show started filming. We were still going out 2 nights a week.
Yeah.
And because of that like PR situation, I'm assuming that's where someone got the idea of this is a fabulous reality show. Like how did it come about?
Well, A&E originally wanted to do a show because they were doing Growing Up Gotti at the time.
Yes, I remember
So they
that
wanted
show.
to do Growing Up Hefner about Hef's 2 kids.
The boys.
Yeah, and Hef was like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm not a PTA dad. Maybe they'll want to do something else. So then the idea turned into, let's do a reality show about the staff at the mansion. So they shot a pilot, which was supposed to be about the staff at the mansion. We were in it a little bit, but it was more so supposed to be about the staff. A&E decided they didn't want it. They took it to
they didn't want to do a whole thing about Mary?
No. So they took it to E.
Mary, the booking secretary.
Well, it was
or whatever.
mostly about like the butlers and stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
like prepping
Yeah.
for parties. It was kind of like upstairs, downstairs. Like here's Hef and his girlfriends and all these party guests and celebrities.
Like a
And
Downton
then-
Abbey, but for the
Kinda, yeah. And then
Yeah.
here's the staff trying to like
appease it
cater
all.
to all
yeah.
their needs.
Got it. Okay.
So they took it to E. E wanted it, but an executive at E said, I want it to be about the girls, though. I want it to be through their eyes.
Right. Which
Yeah.
is totally a smarter angle to go.
Yeah.
So then how is it presented that like we choose you, or because at that time now it is just the 3 of you living
just the
there?
3 of us.
Oh, so there was no like casting choices.
No,
you were
it
the
was-
3.
yeah.
Okay. I was under the impression that there was like more like 5 or 6, and they found you guys. They chose the 3 of you because you did have the best personalities to be the official girlfriends featured in the show.
No, it was already narrowed down to 3, so that's just what it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how did they approach you, and were you nervous, or was this like a dream come true, or what was your thoughts?
Well, we were not approached. We
No.
were just told. It was very
just
much
told we were doing
like
it.
the way we were treated was kind of like the way a YouTube family will just throw their kids on the YouTube. Like,
Yes.
you're here, you're doing this, this is what you're doing. Like, Hef even like walked by me in the hall one morning and was like, I've decided what your characters are going to be. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, we were just told you're doing this. So unless we want to like move out and like start
Change
our
your
lives,
life, yeah.
Exactly. You
Well,
have to
and-
go along with it.
And they basically told us that if you don't like it, you know where the door is because there's lots of people that would want your position.
They didn't pay us for the first season.
Yeah, we weren't paid.
Like they paid us when they ordered more episodes. They finally paid us, but they
Very
didn't
little.
pay us.
and
for,
what
like-
were they paying you for the second season? Do
I
you
don't
recall?
remember. It was minimal, but it's not like I think I'm this big star with huge bargaining power back then. But I just wanted what was fair. Like even if
Yeah.
it's just like a couple $1,000 an episode or something.
Yeah.
I don't even
But
think
just
we
the
were getting
fact that
Yeah.
just the fact that they didn't want to pay us anything and just expected us to do it as the main
So
characters.
you
of the
just
shows.
signed a release.
Yeah, just a release, no contracts.
Okay, so, and you're like, now they're coming in. They got the mics on you, and that's when we get to see. So at that time, it is on the show that you share the room with Hef, and you're the main. And I just kind of remember like you having your room, and you had like a little dog.
Later on,
a lot
I
of
get the
pink.
dog, yeah.
Okay, and then which also too is like such like a thing that like
Such a 2000s reality TV trope.
no, but
the little dogs.
but like on a dark side, like a captive thing, like girls that are like held captive. It's like all they want is like a little dog.
Oh, I had 4.
You know what I mean? Like all they want is just like their little like personal friend.
Yeah.
Because it's like so you have your room and then Kendra has her room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what was your like situation with your parents? Were they like excited about this? Were they okay that you were like living this unconventional half life in the hopes that you'd be like a pathway to a bigger entertainment career? Like what were their thoughts?
Yeah, they were fine with me being at the mansion, but I didn't tell them any details of what was going on. I just don't have that relationship with my parents where I would ever talk about anything like intimate or anything like that.
So before the show came out, they just thought you were at the mansion as an aspiring model.
Well, as Hef's girlfriend, but I think
they
a lot
knew
of
that
people
you were romantic
Yeah.
with him.
Well,
Intimate.
a
whatever.
lot of people back then thought it was all publicity.
that it was fake.
Like, it was kind of like, I would say the public, they were kind of split. Like, no
Yes.
way they're all living there and not
Yeah.
having sex. But also, no way, he's 75. This is all fake. Because it
Totally
was such
true.
a
Yes.
big part of his
I
publicity.
think and I think there's a lot of stuff throughout Hollywood where you're like, even like Pete and Kim, great publicity stunt. I'm like, no, and they were definitely fucking.
Mm-hmm.
But like, did that contribute to them staying together? Was that a nice
Yeah.
aspect of it? Probably. But like, yeah, I think you're right with that. I remember people always, that was like a discussion we'd
all
have.
the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Any press I would do, they would ask, "Are you sleeping with them?" And if I said yes, they'd be like, "There's no way he's sleeping with all you young girls." And then if I said no, they're like, "There's no way he's letting you girls stay there and you're not sleeping with them." And I'm like,
Yeah.
so it doesn't, why do I
Yes.
even bother answering
That's
this question?
so interesting. Yeah. Okay, so you what was your situation with your parents?
My parents were excited for me. They thought Playboy was so cool, and they thought Hef was such a gentleman. They came up and visited quite a bit. Like, they were very excited about
So
it.
neither of your parents had like any problem with the fact that you were like nude models.
No, you have to understand, like, I think both of our parents come from the generation where, like, Playboy was, like, the classiest
Right.
magazine. Like, they remember growing up, they remember hearing about the Playboy clubs were, like, this chic
Yes.
place to be. So they thought it was cool. And I don't think we come from, like, super religious families where they're, like, nudity. Like, yeah, it's kind of like, okay, like, when you come from a small town, but not, like, a huge deal.
Yeah.
But with on the secrets of Playboy, which I thought was interesting, is that like then the fact, like just how you guys signed that release for the show, that I thought that was so awful that these girls did photo shoots and things with 1,200 photos, and then like years later,
Yeah.
those photos were being used and people were profiting off of them, and they weren't. And you're like, oh yeah, I guess that would happen. And as an actress and stuff, because you know, I people don't understand how hard it was, like for us, you know, like to get an agent and to do all this, and you're like, yeah, if I say no, then I'm deemed difficult, and like better that I just say okay,
Yeah.
you know, and like at least I have a chance. If I act like no, it's like, so of course, and what's like a young 21-year-old going to know about contracts and
Exactly.
you know, do you own the intellectual property and all
Yeah.
this kind of stuff? So yeah, that's crazy. So when the show started, when it first aired, how immediate was it that you guys started to like notice how popular it was, and that it was like kind of life changing?
Well, we knew it was popular because they would tell us that the ratings were so great. Like every morning after an episode would air, you know, there would be like these mailboxes downstairs, and they'd put a slip of paper in Hef's mailbox, and it would say what the ratings were. So they always checked on that. So I knew it was a hit, and I knew what like E's standard of a good rating was. But we didn't ever feel, I think, like extra famous or anything while we were there, because we always lived in this bubble where we were so much in Hef's shadow that nothing really changed. Like, yeah, when we went out, a few people like knew our names and stuff, but we just still kind of felt like we were in Hef's shadow. It just wasn't really that big of a change for us, I think. I think the worst part was all of a sudden you're being talked shit about online. And this was back in like the early days of like message boards and stuff. I didn't know everybody in the public eye got talked shit about. I thought it was just us.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, everybody hates us. This is the worst. It was
The
like
e-message boards were rough.
The e-message boards were disgusting.
What would they say? That was so mean.
Just, I mean, probably nothing that would be considered novel now, but just like
Yeah.
gross stuff. Like, oh my God, these whores. And they're so
Escorts
disgusting.
and just, you know, I mean, just everything you could think of that they would say, they said.
And so now during that time, are all three of you still having regular sex with him?
It stopped at some point, because the thing with him was the thing that kind of drove him before was he was high off of all like the attention of going out with like the 7 girlfriends and constantly trying to get new people upstairs. But then when the show came along, he loved the show, obsessed with the show. It was such a big ego boost for him that he didn't really care about going out or trying to get new people to sleep with him anymore. So everything really just calmed down.
Yeah, he was just kind of set with the way things were.
So things changed a lot across the board.
So you weren't bringing anyone new, but
No.
did the 3 of you still have to bone him regularly?
No, it stopped after a while.
So did you have to bone him, Holly, regularly?
No, that stopped after a while because I started working at the Playboy studio too. And I had to be up at the studio at 8, leave the house at 7.
Because you'd work in helping build the magazine.
Yeah. So I would go to bed even before he would go to sleep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There were a couple of times he would say, like, oh, maybe we should all, and Kendra and I would look at each other and be like, no, we're busy. Oh, we got to be up early. We're good.
He would say, maybe we all go out again or whatever.
Well, like, he would say, like, maybe we should have a picnic in the bedroom or something like that. Watch a movie together or something. And Kendra and I would be like, oh, yeah, I've got that interview early in the morning. No, not tonight.
And so did you ever, like, the 2 of you go out and be like, isn't this great that we don't have to fuck him anymore? This is wonderful. I'm loving that we like get to be on TV and like just kind of have a more independent life. Or
I don't remember having that conversation.
No,
but
I don't
we
remember
just
ever.
Knew, but it's something that we wouldn't have even
I'll
had
have a Chinese chicken salad. Ed, isn't this great that we don't have to bone up anymore?
Well, we were just like, isn't it great we don't have to deal with the drama with all those
Yeah.
other girls
Yeah.
anymore?
Oh, okay.
That was more the thing that was like on my mind and like the big deal. And we were just so grateful that it was just the 3 of us and that we got along pretty well and that we had the opportunities that the show brought us. And just we had wanted to be in the magazine for so long and we got to be in the magazine like 4 times after the show started. So we loved those opportunities. So just kind of everything about life there kind of improved after the show came along.
And then during those years, the magazines, which people still bought magazines back then, they certainly don't now. Those issues were doing probably great because you guys had the show pushing it. And, okay, so it goes on for so like you're like sleeping in that big brown headboard room.
Yeah.
Was it a waterbed? I always imagine.
No,
it
it
was.
looks
Okay.
like it though,
It
doesn't
does.
it?
Because it
It
looks
looks
like
like
that
it, yeah.
leather would
Yeah.
go around the
Yeah,
waterbed.
but it's not.
Okay, and so you're in there every night still sleeping. At some point, you never go, you know what? I bet you'd sleep better if I wasn't in there. Like, you never thought to try to get out of it because you're no longer boning. Like, it goes years without boning him. Mm-hmm. And he still insists that you, like, sleep next to him like a wife.
Yeah, well, the last time I think I asked for a room was maybe like before the show started, after all those girls moved out. I'm like, hey, there's extra rooms. Like maybe I could take the smallest one down the hall just because to have more room for my stuff or like have a moment of privacy. And he said no. And I was kind of conditioned not to ask for things because he would get really angry, snap at me, just put me in tears sometimes when we'd have some discussions. So I wasn't really asking for a lot when I lived there.
And we mentioned the 2 boys. So how old were they then? His 2 sons with, what was that wife's name?
Kimberly.
And wasn't it that Kimberly and the boys were like living in a house next door?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And so how often would like those boys come around and did you have any relationship with them?
No, I wouldn't say we had any relationship with them. They were probably like 10 or 11 when we moved in.
Yeah, I was going to say like 9 and 11, something in there.
And he used to have family night on Tuesdays where like the kids and Kimberly would come over and they'd like watch a movie. And we just like steered clear and we didn't really.
And sometimes the boys would come over and run around the property and like they were like into kind of trying to film little movies and writing little
but it
newspaper
was rare.
type
Like I didn't
things.
see them around a lot.
Not all the time, but
Yeah.
they were here and there.
And did you have any relation with Kimberly?
No, I thought she was so intimidating. I thought she was so scary.
Yeah. Have you ever did you ever talk to her since? Like have like a gab session after he died or after you were broken up with him or anything?
I think it's pretty safe to say we wouldn't get along. She led this whole thing after the A&E documentary came out. She got all these people together to like sign a petition to say that like Hef's a great guy. So I don't think we'd get along, but
Oh, okay.
I only talked to her like once the whole time I lived there. It was very early on after I moved in. I was working out in the gym and she was down in the gym and she just said, "Hi, I'm Kimberly," and that was it.
And do you think why do you think Like, first of all, why do you think they got married, and then why do you think they got divorced?
Well, I think he was going through a lot in his life. He just had a stroke. It was the 80s, like the AIDS crisis. Nobody's like having casual sex anymore. He's already old. There's no Viagra. It probably only made sense for him. No, there's all these reasons. Like, I'm not even making excuses. Like, there's all these reasons. Because he would always tell me that he'd been so miserable being married. And I'm like, well, why'd you get married then? And there were
You mean
just
to
all
the first wife, who's the mother of like the girl, right?
No, the first wife was back in like the 50s.
Right.
Yeah. And then his second wife, he got married in the 80s, like 89.
Right. But he has one daughter from the first wife, right?
A daughter and a son, yeah.
Okay. So then he had all those years, and then he marries Kimberly in 89.
Yeah.
And they have the two boys. And then why do you think they divorced? Was he just still wanting to... Was that when Viagra came out, and then she didn't want to be with a cheater?
Coincidentally, it was when Viagra came out, but I don't think that's why. I mean, I don't really know. You'd have to ask her, but I think Kimberly just wanted to like travel more and do more things. And eventually there was from his side of the story is there was a New Year's Eve party, and she left and took the kids to Hawaii, which I kind of find it hard to believe somebody would like do that last minute and not just ditch somebody at a New Year's Eve party. So I don't know what her side of the story was, but his side of the story was that he was like ditched at a New Year's Eve party. So I don't know.
Yeah. And, okay, so the show goes on, and then how does it come to an end? And so, like, for the three of you, I know it went on for like one more season with those two other girls, but like you guys were on it with you guys on it for how many years?
5 seasons.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then how did it? And then did you all three leave at the same time, the
Kinda.
show?
It ended up kind of being like that. Kendra kind of stopped participating around season 4. Like if you watch season 4, she's all of a sudden not really in it as much.
Oh, okay.
And wanted to go do her own thing. Wanted to go do her own thing. And E decided to do a spinoff with her. And then Bridget got a job doing a show for Travel Channel.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
So you were going to leave and do that, but I kind of always felt like you would go do that. And you know when you're filming a reality show, you're really only filming like 6 months a year max. I kind of felt like I don't know what your plan was, but I kind of felt like you would go do that and then come back and do Girls Next Door.
I was thinking that too. I kind of had one foot out the door, like I was wanting to date and stuff. So I was sort of thinking about moving out, but I still thought there was time, and I would go film the beaches, come back, film Girls Next Door, leave, go do beaches.
Yeah.
And for me, I had planned on staying. I loved my job at the studio and everything. And they had planned on Girls Next Door just continuing and being more inclusive of like the playmates and the girls at the studio. And it would be kind of more about that. But
more like about the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I decided to leave because after Bridget and Kendra left, things just there were other things too. Like I was getting a little bit older and I wanted to have kids, and Bridget and Kendra left, and Hef just got so hard to deal with that I couldn't do it. I just left suddenly. And the producers of the show, sorry. And the producer of the show was so mad at me because he had planned on the show to keep going. And so he was really angry I left, but I had to do it.
So that storyline that we would see that was like, Holly is like, when am I getting my ring? Why aren't I getting married? Was that not true? Was that not something you ever really wanted? Or was it something like, I put in my years and I do want to get married. I do want to be Mrs. Hefner.
No, I did want it. But I will say that I played into it on the show more, and they love to repeat things. So I swear I'm not that obnoxious in real life. Like, I'm not like, when are we getting married? But I thought it was kind of funny on the show to joke about it. Like, if I was throwing a baby shower and I had a baby outfit, I was like, oh, this is cute. I wish I could have one. Like, I said that kind of stuff thinking it would be funny on the show, and it was.
Right. And it kept up with the drama,
too. So it was true, but I'm not that annoying, I swear to God.
Yeah. So when did you so you're doing the travel show. So, and then the show ended as the three girls. Like, how did that happen? Because you did say, I want to move out. I am done with you.
Yeah. I said, I'm done. I'm moving out. And what
was that day that you finally were like, this is it.
I know what day it was. Well, I don't actually know the date.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, what was the moment, that like, aha moment, this is it, I've thought about it for a long time, and this is it, and this is why, and I'm not turning back. Like, what was that?
It was a lot of things leading up to it, like I said, with the relationship. And, like, we'd done in vitro, and, like, that
you had?
Yeah.
This was the real deal.
With Hef sperm?
Yes. and it didn't work, and it was because
was
of
that
his
on the
sperm.
show?
Yeah, it wasn't on the show because we wanted to keep it secret. Because when you're trying to get pregnant, you don't want to like necessarily.
Right.
I mean, some people do.
But I mean, I feel like that now is the storyline for every reality show: is someone freezing their eggs or going through in vitro.
But if you watch the show, there's reference to it. Like in season 4, I'm leaving to go to Jamaica, and I go, saying, oh, if we got married, I wouldn't go on so many trips. Not that I'm even going on so many trips. I was going one trip for my sister's wedding in like 7 years of living there. And then he goes, well, let's work on the baby first. And that was while we were doing in vitro. So he makes comments, but like we hadn't come out and like said anything.
And not only that, but I did the egg retrieval while we were doing it, and I wanted it to be on the show because I thought it was really important, especially back then.
Yeah.
People weren't really talking about it yet.
Right.
And they refused to show it because it showed me thinking of a life that wasn't revolving around the mansion.
Got it.
Yeah, they wouldn't even show that I was in real estate school because they wanted it to look like I had no outside aspirations besides Hef.
Yeah, we were supposed to look like we were never going to leave there, that this was our life and forever.
Yeah. So with so did you actually do an in vitro, like the embryo went in you?
No, because his sperm didn't work.
That's
so it
what
didn't
I was
even
going
get
to
that
ask.
far.
I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah. So was it shocking when you heard in The Secrets of Playboy that the one twin... So then the twins came after you.
Yeah.
The twins came after that. You're featured in The Secrets of Playboy. And one of the twins says she got pregnant by having the regular sex with Hef. And went forward with an abortion. What is your thoughts? Like, did that surprise you then?
Well, I'm never going to say I don't believe anybody's story because I wasn't there and anything can happen, but it's surprising.
Yeah.
Considering what I know.
It's surprising for any man that age.
Yeah.
Like,
For any man that age. And then after he's already tried to do the in vitro stuff,
Right.
and it was unsuccessful.
But
Yes.
anything can happen.
But yeah, you just never know.
Like, I
Yeah,
don't like it when people come from my story and say, well, I was there in the 70s and it wasn't like that. I'm like, you don't know. You weren't there when I was there,
Yeah.
I always say whenever somebody says that, I'm like, I'm sure there were a million waiters and busboys that said O.J. Simpson was the nicest guy in the world.
There probably still are.
Exactly. Because someone's experience doesn't mean that their experience wasn't their experience. But just because you had a great experience with someone doesn't mean that person's story is not true.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe, and also with a situation like that, a guy like Hef or a guy, they know who to pursue. And who to just be like, hey, hope you had a good time at the party. Bye-bye.
100%.
Who's the vulnerable one? Who's the one that can be manipulated? Especially a guy that's been doing it for 80 fucking years. Like, they're really good at it at that point. Of choosing who's going to be accommodating and who's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you never saw anybody in the group when we were there that ever had like any like wealth or career or really anything like that. It was always girls who are hard up.
That didn't have anything to fall back
Yeah.
on. Right. That are going to put up with it because what would they do?
Yeah.
So in doing this, were you able to sock some money away? Because you said now they're paying you a little bit. And I know when Kendra was here, she was like, she was able to make a little bit of money doing like appearances and stuff, and that she was kind of trying to save, but then they would try to take that, like they didn't like that you could like go do a club appearance for $5,000 or whatever. So did you guys find that to be the case as well?
Well, I definitely did save a ton of money, and I started investing in real estate. Like I went to school for real estate investment, so I was always watching my back and trying to like build a future for myself because you always kind of felt too at the mansion like the rug could be pulled out from you at any moment, or he could die at any moment. So I was,
and if he died, it's not like you were like
you're
in
not
a
gonna get
will.
anything. Yeah, no.
Yeah, you weren't a wife. You didn't have a kid with him. So, you'd just be screwed. Like, they'd probably be, like, knocking on your door the next day.
For sure.
Pack
They
up
would.
your little dog and, like, yeah.
And out.
Yeah.
So you come back and you guys are all like, okay, you've got your travel show. You've got stuff cooking. You're like, okay. And when you tell him, so what was the day? Go back to the day.
Okay, so it was all this stuff leading up to it. So I was kind of ready to go anyway. But I was in Vegas working on a Playmate shoe, and I went out to eat with somebody whose name I'd rather not mention. But when I was talking to this guy who I thought was cute and realized, oh, I could have feelings for this guy. Like, nothing happened, but I realized I could have feelings for this guy. And then Hef called the next morning and was like, I had security following you the whole time. You need to get back here, And I was like, I can't do this. I can't. Like, it's done today.
So you go to like a lunch, and you have like a little flirty lunch, but nothing happens. And you find out later you had no idea that you were being followed and like
No.
under surveillance.
Absolutely not.
That is so creepy.
Yeah, it's so creepy.
And so how old are you at that point?
I was 29.
And so then you're like, so how do you tell him I'm done?
Well, the next day I told him, I think I'm moving out. I want to get married and have kids someday. Like, that's an easy excuse to give. It's true. And it's something he can't do, like, physically. And he didn't want to let it go. He kept trying to convince me to stay. He even did put me in his will, left the will on my side of the bed so I could see it.
And what did it say?
That I'd get $3 million when he died. But, my mind was made up, and I packed up my stuff and I left.
And, okay, so then then you go, now one of the things from the show, as I remembered, is that you guys did have, I want to say maybe it was one episode, but I feel like there were several episodes where you guys did go to Vegas as a foursome, on the Playboy, and go to the Playboy suite and everything at the Palms.
But we had to fly right back and be home by 9 o'clock.
Even if he was with you, or not if he was?
Oh, not if he was with us.
Oh, yeah, he would go sometimes.
And I remember that was the first time the 9 o'clock thing, and I just thought that was so weird. And then, like, Kendra said that, because there was the 9 o'clock curfew, she still kind of dated, but she'd have to, like, do it in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could go off and do lunch and stuff.
You could do whatever you wanted during the day, but you had to be home by 9 o'clock. And Kendra was hardly ever around during the day.
But and obviously security wasn't following you guys then. Otherwise, he would have known.
They could have been. But yeah, he would have known.
They might have been. I always felt like Hef kind of knew Kendra wasn't going to stick around that long, though. So maybe he did know. I think he did know.
I'm pretty sure he did know.
Because of some security he did have with her on some trips. I think he knew, but just was like, whatever, it's working for the show.
So you get your variety show at the Planet Hollywood.
Yeah.
And they also say, we'll follow the cameras. You have a reality show part of it, right? They were filming it?
So I wanted to do a spinoff about my life in Vegas, and I was just shopping it around with a manager. But then when E expressed interest, because of the contracts we had to sign before season 5 of Girls Next Door, I had to do it with the same production company that did Girls Next Door. That was locked in according to the contract. So I think Kevin, the producer, was excited about doing my show once it started, but he hated me in between Girls Next Door and that show. Like, he used to write open letters to the message board, like, just making me sound like a horrible person.
From him?
Yes, he signed it. Like, I could go online and find it. Stacy put it on her blog.
And what was he basically saying?
He was saying that I had been over Hef for years, and that I was dating this other guy behind his back the whole time, which wasn't true, and that I was mad because I didn't get my own spinoff, which nobody was ever talking about. He was just trying to make me sound like the villain, like I ruined the show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it ended for you, then you were doing the travel thing. And how often were you guys all talking? And at this point, was Kendra not really close to you guys anymore? Or did you go to her wedding?
Yeah, you know what? When we were leaving, I loved Kendra. I thought that, like, we had like kind of our sibling rivalry while we were there. But I felt like after she was with Hank, she just seemed like so much more mature and so happy. And I feel like we were all three just so happy for each other and the direction our lives were going. Like, we all got together to do commentary for seasons 4 and 5 of Girls Next Door after we moved out. And you can even hear in the commentary, like, we're just getting along. We're all happy for each other.
Yeah.
So that was then.
And
so
we were in the wedding. We were.
You were in the wedding.
We were in the wedding. We stayed in contact. I threw her baby shower.
And so what happened then? Was it that when you wrote your book, Down the Rabbit Hole, and you became pretty frank about things? Is that when she kind of was like, I disagree, and cooled on hanging out?
No, it was before then, because I was doing my spinoff. She was doing her spinoff. We have Kevin, the producer, doing both.
But was her spinoff was on you too, or it was on
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So he's doing the spinoffs, and then I go into more detail about it on my book, But things got weird with me and Kendra, and I felt like he was encouraging that. Like, he wanted us fighting. He wanted drama. He wanted me to come on her show and, like, brag about how much money I was making in Vegas so she'd get a little poke in the ass to take more jobs to make her show more interesting. I don't know. That's what he told me. And things got weird between us, and it got to the point eventually where I had a falling out with that producer. I was on the phone screaming with him, and he admitted to me that he wanted us to not get along because he thought it would be good publicity.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't want any part of that bullshit. You know, I'm pregnant. I don't want to be stressed out. I don't want to be fighting with people and looking like shit in tabloids for publicity that benefits your dumb show. Like, bye.
Yeah. And
so by the time I wrote this, I was mad. I was mad at him. I was mad at Kendra.
Okay. So then, and then the next book came out, the Vegas Diaries. And in this, where are you in your life? Talking about what's going on here at this point.
Oh, I was talking about my life in Vegas and just lessons I learned dating, but like I don't drop names or anything like that.
Yeah. And at this point, you're married when you write the second book.
I was married when I wrote the first one. And my husband was always super supportive of me telling the truth about my experience.
So then when did you guys, now what's your situation? Are you single? What's happening, Bridget?
No, I met somebody almost right away. Like, I actually met him at the mansion, and we've been dating ever since. We've been together for 14 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you're like a Goldie Hawn and... like, do you think you'll ever get married, or why get married? Or
we're going to. We've been engaged. There's like a lot of reasons why we haven't done it yet, but we plan to for sure.
But you don't have kids,
no.
And you guys live here in LA. Okay, perfect. What did you think of the Secrets of Playboy? Because you were not a part of it, right? Or
I did do one day of interviewing.
Okay,
they put almost nothing that I said in there. My experience and looking back on my experiences with Hef and the mansion are pretty positive. I would say 98% of it is positive. There were a few stories that I had of things that I didn't think were quite right or whatever, and those are the only stories that they used. And they used them to pretty much like kind of
back up what I was saying.
Back up Holly's stories. And so
which
I
was what?
Barely
basically
in it.
What?
I didn't watch it, so I didn't see which ones they chose.
I didn't even watch my episode. They did 12 episodes. I watched all of them except episode 2, just 'cause I don't want to watch myself talk about my trauma again. I can't take it. But every other episode I watched, and it came out over the course of 12 weeks, I had nightmares after I watched them.
Yeah.
It's intense.
You know what? I feel like I did too. And
Yes.
it's not like I was ever there. Because being that it was once a week, and it's like...
It drags
you can't
on the
binge
suspense.
It. It's interesting, like, because there's all these like documentaries. And I was joking the other day on my show. I'm like, isn't it weird that we grew up like never watching a documentary, and now that's all anybody talks about or watches? And so it's like when you watch like a documentary that's like a 3-part or 4-part, and you watch it all in one night, and it's disturbing. You're like, woo! You have one bad, and then you forget it. But this was like every week, and then they even are like
adding stuff.
Yeah, now we have another one because
I
people
know.
came forward and it was just like
Traumatic.
it was really
It
traumatic,
was.
even for people that like had nothing to do with
Right.
it.
I didn't watch it, but I still got messages about it, and people I knew were watching it and telling me things. And then
Yeah.
there'd be like little snippets on like news outlets, and I would just be like, oh, I don't want to know this stuff.
Yeah. And so what did you think when he married his last wife, Crystal?
I mean, there's so many things to think. There was the whole runaway bride debacle.
Right. So what happened? They were engaged, but then she bailed.
And then they got married.
Wasn't
after.
it like the night before the wedding or something?
It
Or
was
like 2
something
days before the
crazy like
wedding or
that.
something like
Yeah.
right before. And it was a Lifetime special. So bailed on the whole TV show and everything.
Oh, it was going to be. I thought you were just like it's like a Lifetime movie. No, like
No,
it
it was
really was going to be a
for me.
filmed Lifetime special.
Yes.
and she really just left the day
Yes.
before. And then, I'm this like vaguely coming back to me. And then what happened? Then how later did she come back? Then
I think maybe a year or two. I'm not really sure on the timeline.
Oh, I thought it was quicker than that, but I don't remember either.
and then. So she was with him all the way till the end, till he passed, and then she did a tweet that went quite public because she tweeted to you, about the fact that it got revealed in the Secrets of Playboy that there were video cameras in the room, and so there were all this.
I don't
footage.
think I hope there weren't video cameras.
Maybe
in
not
the room
videos.
we were there.
Was it photos? Sorry,
Yeah.
Photos.
There are photos of all you guys, and then she said, "I did find all the photos, and I threw them out."
Yeah, thank God.
And And that was also kind of nice because otherwise she didn't participate in this.
Yeah.
And, which I can understand why. Like,
well, it's scary. Like, I didn't even want to do it. Like, I admire the director's work, and we'd had some amazing, really long conversations about it. But for the longest time, I didn't want to do it because I'm like, I already wrote my book. I said what I need to say. Sitting down and doing like a day. I mean, I did 2 interviews with them, and one of them lasted all day. And I just don't want to sit and talk about my trauma again. Like, I did not want to do it. Eventually, I finally decided to do it just because I knew so many other women were coming forward, and I know what it feels like to come forward and not have anybody have your back. So I wanted to be supportive of that. But even after that, I was scared because I'm like, how are they going to edit me? Are they going to make me sound like I said something I didn't say? So it was scary. Like, I had very mixed feelings going into it.
and, yeah, and I mean, I think she's like living a great life now, and I mean, she seems happy. She's with some cute young guy.
Yeah.
I went on Instagram. I'm like, wow, that's a switch. Let's talk about the Girls Next Level and like what you've recorded and what you've like. Just talk about it, like what you think, because I think it is such a cool reflection, really.
Well, it started out with Holly doing YouTube videos.
Yeah, I had people request on my YouTube channel, like, react to an episode of Girls Next Door. So I did a couple. The first 3 were hard to watch. And now, going back and watching them, it's really emotional. Like, I feel like we were done so dirty in those first couple of episodes. So
How is it, tell me, Bridget, like, how is it when you look at it? Like, what? Because you just went, like, had a
Because
visceral
Holly
reaction.
warned me that the first 3 episodes were really hard to watch. And when she said that, I thought she just meant, like, kind of just getting used to watching them again. And once you get past, like, 3 episodes, you're good. I didn't realize until I just watched them, I just watched them not last night, but the night before. And I'm still traumatized. Like, I'm sick to my stomach.
Why?
I can't sleep. I've been crying.
Really? What
Yes.
makes you sick to your stomach?
The way we were portrayed. And
how were you portrayed that wasn't real for you?
For me, or
Like,
for both of us?
How do you feel that you were portrayed and it's upsetting you because that wasn't your authentic self?
if you want, I could jump in with one thing they
Yes,
did do in
please.
that episode if it's easier.
Yeah.
That I think is messed
Yeah.
up. They make it look like Bridget is like plying all the new playmates with drinks to like mess them up for their shoot the next day because she's jealous, which isn't what she said at all, but they cut and paste it so it looks like she's literally trying to like shove shots in everybody's face because she wants to sabotage. And I think that's messed up and borderline
and
illegal.
what I was talking about in
Yeah,
there.
and if it's not true, that's just shitty. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's absolutely not true. And
Yeah.
I don't plan the going out schedule or how much girls drink or what,
Yeah.
like I have no control over that stuff. But what it boils down to is that I had wanted Playmate so bad, like way long before I'd even been to the mansion. I tested before I even lived at the mansion. And I was talking about my insecurities with that and how jealous that I was when I see all these girls coming and going and getting it and making Playmate of the Year and all this stuff. And it's really, really hard to watch. And so I can't help but be critical sometimes of them. Like, oh, she kind of has a bad boob job, or maybe her hair, needs to be different, whatever. And they just took that and made it look like I was ridiculing everybody that came, that I was just this jealous bitch, that I was getting people drunk and sabotaging their pictorials, and even little things too. There was tiny things that at first, when I was first watching it, I was like, oh, they're just trying to be funny in the edit, but like I would joke with somebody, a girl came in wearing a similar dress to me, and I was like, oh, she's like, oh, I hope you don't mind. And I say, no, I totally mind, take it off. And then I laugh, and we're just joking because we're really great friends, but they take out the laugh and that I'm just joking. And it shows me saying, no, I want you to take it off. And just leaving it at that. And just like, at first I thought it's just a reality show, so I'm not going to like, you know what I mean? Like they do stuff like that. But then when you start seeing it consistently to her and I,
and only us. They never
us.
did that to
Yeah.
Kendra. Ever.
So we are immediately in episode 1 being made out to be the bitches.
Right. That is true. And maybe that was the Hef character thing. When he said, I have your characters planned, do you recall what he wanted your characters to be?
I don't think that part came from him. I think that came from the executive producer. And that's confusing, too, because we went on to feel like we had a close friendship with Kevin. And now as we get older and look back and see what he did, it's a bad feeling. But Hef wanted me to be completely devoted to him. He was like, you're the one who cares about me. Bridget's the one who wants a career, and Kendra's the one who wants to have fun. Like, that was his idea of what our characters were. But I think it was more the producer who wanted the drama and wanted us to look mean and, didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Holly, I haven't watched all the episodes. She has because she's been doing the YouTube videos, but I've only watched up to episode 3 right now. And I am traumatized.
Yeah.
No, when I did those first reaction videos, I was telling the viewers, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to continue these because they're not great for my mental health. Like, I just come off watching, like, The Secrets of Playboy, and then I'm watching this, and I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth for this.
That's what I told Holly. I said, I don't know if I can keep watching these. I'm literally sick over this.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, it gets better, I swear. And I was like, I think I need to go to bed. And so I, like, went to bed early. I thought maybe if I just sleep on it in the morning, I'll feel better about it. I woke up the next morning. Yesterday, sick to my stomach.
Did you have dreams? Has he like?
I couldn't sleep.
Do you have dreams though? Like, are you a dreamer that has like vivid dreams?
I never remember. I rarely remember my dreams. Very rarely. So
Do
maybe
you have vivid dreams?
I do, and I had a nightmare. I was back at the mansion every single night after Secrets of Playboy.
Because sometimes when I'm like either read something or something's on my mind, I have very vivid dreams where I can remember the next day, and I'm like, oh my God, like, bitch, get out of my dream. Like, why did you come back? Like, what the fuck? Like, I haven't thought about you in like 3 years. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But something will happen and that person's there, and it's like very strange how that works. Yeah.
I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. And she's like, I swear it gets better. So I'm hoping it gets better from here. But
It'll probably be a good, like, therapeutic and in the end, kind of fun, hopefully.
Oh, no, I think it will, especially us being able to talk together and being able to be so candid on a podcast. Like, you can't say anything really on YouTube without getting flagged. So that's what inspired me to do the podcast, is there's so much more I wanted to say that you can never say on YouTube without getting your channel shut down. So.
Yeah, so she called me one day and she was like, I've been doing these on the YouTube, but there's so much more I want to say. Would you ever be willing to like do a podcast about it? And I was like, and like I said, my whole experience looking back on it is like 95, 98%, whatever positive. I don't have ill feelings to Kendra or Hef or Kevin or anybody. And so I was like, yeah, I totally would do it.
Yeah, and sometimes time, it's like time heals all wounds. Sometimes it is the time. Like, sometimes it does take a long time to get over something, especially when it's a relationship and work and in the big, public eye. It's like a threefold, when you guys were like at the mansion doing stuff, would any like of these old crony friends of his, would they ever like hit on you or be like, can you bring a girl for me or anything?
They definitely knew not to come anywhere near any of Hef's girls.
There was like a golden rule. They were barely allowed to talk to us.
And what did you think of that part in it? Oh God. in the Secrets of, it's just like coming to me.
I know there's so much.
Where the doctor that you said you met the doctor, and there was like, I want to say I saw it on there, like that the daughter thought maybe they had a romantic relationship, Hef and the doctor. Like, there was things that came in later that like I remember hearing like that when he was having sex had male porn on and that kind of thing, which kind of came out later. What did you think of all those stories?
Well, I think maybe they were both in the same orgy in the 70s or something like that. But when I was with Hef, I was really liked his doctor, and I never sensed, like, they were close friends, but I never sensed anything like romantic or sexual between them. And I always felt like the doctor was super supportive of my and Hef's relationship too.
Yeah.
But also, like, things change over the decades. Like, things might have been completely different in the 70s than they were in the 2000s. So I don't know what went on back then.
Right. They might have had some special... bond.
Yeah, maybe they grew out of it and the relationship evolved. I don't know.
Right. Or maybe it was one of those things that because he saw himself as such like a sexual revolutionary person, maybe he tried it.
Oh, no, he definitely tried it. Like, he's admitted to that. So
he's tried. He's had gay sex.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. But
but that was.
I don't know about him and his doctor.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. Oh my god.
But it's crazy because if you like Google, or like I Googled something about it, and then an article came up that was like the love of Hef's life, and it showed a picture of the doctor, and I'm like, he would turn in his grave. It was just so weird.
Right. Yeah. Well, tell everybody where they can follow you guys and listen to the show and all of that.
You can find Girls Next Level anywhere you find podcasts. You can follow Girls Next Level _podcast on Instagram. I'm Holly Madison on Instagram. She's Bridget Marquardt on Instagram.
Yes.
And it was so great. I had such a good time. Thank you for being
Thanks.
letting
Thanks.
me
Thank you.
ask all the
Yeah.
juicy questions and answering them all and being candid. 'Cause I think it's so interesting and I'm excited for this. I think it'll be a big hit.
Thank you.
Thanks.